Welcome to Storied Audio. Sheriff Eli Carter had always loved the silence of Cedar Hollow. Nestled between pine-covered ridges and wide golden fields, the town had one blinking stoplight, 2 diners, and a jail that hadn't seen an occupant in over a year. Folks still left their doors unlocked, waved at each other from porches, and trusted Eli to keep it that way. He was a man cut from rough cloth, early 50s, buzz-cut gray hair, a long-heeled bullet wound in his shoulder from his state trooper days. He'd retired early and come here to forget the chaos, to serve out his remaining years writing parking tickets and helping old ladies haul groceries. But the quiet ended on a Thursday. The first sign came with a sound, a low rumble like distant thunder. Eli stepped out of the diner with a to-go coffee when he heard it. Engines. Many of them. Then came a sight. Over a dozen black-clad bikers thundering down Main Street like a steel storm. They didn't stop at the light. They didn't slow for pedestrians. They roared in a tight pack to the far edge of town and parked outside the boarded-up warehouse near the old rail yard. No one had used that place in a decade. Eli watched from the sidewalk, one hand instinctively resting on the grip of his Colt Python. Out-of-towners, the waitress, Josie asked, joining him with a frown. Maybe, Eli said. But they don't look like they're here for the scenery. The next morning, Eli ran their plates. Half were missing or fake. The rest pointed back to states as far-flung as Nevada, Louisiana, and Arizona. He'd dealt with biker gangs before. He knew the type: ex-cons, meth pushers, gun runners. But this crew had a name that carried weight: the Iron Vultures. Their president, a man known only as Vex, had a rap sheet longer than the Bible and a reputation for bloodshed. Cedar Hollow wasn't prepared for men like that. By Saturday night, things got worse. The Vultures took over Miller's Bar, ran off the locals, and turned it into their private clubhouse. Fights broke out in the parking lot. Someone fired a gun into the air just past midnight. Eli found broken glass and blood on the sidewalk the next morning. But no one filed a report. No one wanted to be seen talking to the sheriff. That evening, Eli stood outside the bar alone. His deputies, 2 kids barely out of community college, were scared. They said the town should wait it out. Let the feds handle it. Eli had been a state trooper long enough to know better. The feds didn't care about towns like Cedar Hollow. Not until bodies hit the ground. On Monday, he paid a visit to the warehouse. Just him, his badge, and the steel nerves he'd earned in 20 years of service. 2 vultures flanked the doors, shaved heads, leather cuts, cold eyes. One of them, a wall of a man with Reaper inked across his neck, stepped forward. "You're lost, Sheriff. If you and your boys are setting up shop here," Eli said evenly, "I want to know what kind of business you're running." "Just passing through," the second biker said, chewing on a toothpick. "Enjoying the countryside." Eli locked eyes with him. "If that's true, you'll leave by the weekend. If not, I'll make sure you do." Reaper chuckled. "You think one badge and an old revolver are going to stop us?" Eli didn't blink. "If I have to burn this whole place down to flush you out, I will." The warning was ignored. By Wednesday, a gas station clerk got his jaw broken. A high school kid ended up in the ER after someone jumped him behind the bowling alley. Eli's cruiser was vandalized, windows smashed, tires slashed, pigs spray-painted across the doors. That night, Eli sat in his office, staring at a bottle of whiskey he hadn't touched in years. He knew what came next. Escalation. The radio crackled. "Sheriff, it's Miller's Bar. There's been a shooting." Eli arrived to find chaos. A local man, Donnie Hall, father of 2, was being loaded into an ambulance with a gunshot wound to the leg. Witnesses said he'd been defending his sister from one of the bikers who got handsy. When he pushed back, the biker drew a pistol. Eli didn't hesitate. He stormed into the bar. The room fell silent. Over a dozen men turned toward him. Vex sat at the head of a poker table, boots up, tattoos crawling over every inch of his arms. He smiled like a rattlesnake. "You must be the famous Sheriff Carter. Nice of you to join us." Eli's eyes were hard. "Which one of you shot Donnie Hall?" No one spoke. "You think this is a game?" Eli barked. "This town is under my protection. Every one of you is trespassing." Vex stood slowly, towering over him. You think anyone gives a damn about this dust bowl? You think you can stop us? Eli stepped forward, unflinching. Yes. War was coming. By morning, Eli had made his calls. Old friends. Retired troopers. A few trustworthy state boys who owed him favors. He dusted off his long-unused Remington 870. He called every able-bodied man in town and gathered them at the church. They think they can scare us, Eli said. That they can take what they want and walk away. But this is our home. If we don't stand now, we won't have anything left to protect. Not all agreed to fight, but enough did. They built makeshift barricades, blocked the roads leading to the bar and warehouse, and set up rotating patrols. Eli deputized 10 more men and trained them in the basics. He took back the night, block by block. And then he waited. Friday night, the Iron Vultures came in force, 25 strong, armed, riding like wolves. Eli and his men met them in front of the diner, lights blazing from every building. Townsfolk stood behind overturned trucks and hay bales, gripping bats, old rifles, and crowbars. The street exploded into chaos. Gunfire, screams, smoke and dust. Windows shattered. Engines roared. A Molotov arced through the sky and set a parked bike ablaze. Eli moved like a ghost between cover, dropping bikers with precision. His men held the line. Vex bellowed orders, swinging a tire iron like a warhammer. Then he saw Eli and charged. They collided in the center of the street. The shotgun was gone. Now it was fists and grit. Vex slammed Eli into a truck. Eli drove an elbow into his jaw. Blood sprayed. The crowd roared. Eli ducked a punch, grabbed a broken broom handle, and drove it into Vex's side. The biker howled and dropped to one knee. Cedar Hollow closed in. Eli growled and dropped Vex with a single brutal punch. The vultures fled. Those not wounded were arrested. The rest limped into the darkness. The warehouse was cleared, weapons, drugs, stolen goods stacked like trophies. The ATF showed up 3 days too late. Cedar Hollow buried one man, Paul Wilkins, a mechanic who took a bullet to the chest defending his son. The town mourned him as a hero. Eli stood over the grave in silence. Then he went back to work. The damage was cleaned. The people healed. And the town learned something important. Courage isn't measured in numbers, but in the strength to stand when no one else will. Eli Carter never bragged about what he did. He didn't need to. He'd earned the only title that mattered, Protector of Cedar Hollow. Subscribe to the channel for more audio stories.